Everyone loves him because he never gives up. But nobody pauses to ask what it costs a person who isn't built to stop. Because from the outside, discipline and desperation look identical. The praise sounds the same, the work ethic looks the same, even the results look the same. But the difference is what's underneath, something that only becomes visible when that person finally sits still. Rock Lee never sat still. And that wasn't the inspiring part. That was the tell. Some people have to prove what others get credit for by just existing. That's the world Lee is operating in. No ninjutsu, no genjutsu. In a system built around what you were born with, he has none of it. Just a body. And a willingness to use it past the point of reason. Most people stop the analysis there. He worked hard. He proved everyone wrong. Good job, buddy. But that's not what's actually happening. In a world that worships natural talent, someone like Neji gets celebrated just for showing up, while Lee has to earn every inch. And research backs this up. People constantly give more credit to someone born talented than to someone who had to grind their way to the same results. Same outcome, but more respect is given to the one who didn't have to try as hard. Lee trains inside that gap every day. Past injury, past exhaustion, past the point where the body is sending clear signals to stop. The training isn't evidence of confidence. It's a system. And the system has rules. If the leg gives out, train the arms. If the arms fail, hit the abs. If abs aren't enough, meditate for mental fortitude. There's always another increment, always another number to hit. What's interesting about how Kishimoto frames this is that the rules don't get looser when Lee gets stronger. They get tighter. The bar doesn't move down after a win. It moves up. Because the whole architecture is built on a foundation that doesn't appear to work. The fear of being ordinary in a room full of people who were born extraordinary. That's the difference between avoidance and ambition. One is chasing something, the other is running away from it. Lee's system has the shape of ambition, but the engine underneath is fear. And the gap between those two things is what matters. Although it doesn't look like that from the outside. It looks like dedication. It looks like a training montage. It looks like the kind of discipline that gets written on the walls in the gym. But the structure of it, the relentlessness, the inability to rest, the self-punishment when goals aren't met, that's not what building something looks like. That's actually what running looks like. Lee doesn't rest between arcs. He trains in the hospital. He trains right after the injury. Recovery never registers as safe because the system wasn't built around safety. It was built around not stopping. The off switch was never part of the design. Lee's version is just more visible than most. The stakes are physical and the damage is on screen, but the pattern underneath is the same. When work is the only thing holding a sense of worth together, stopping doesn't feel like rest. It feels like losing. And the Gara fight is low key where it's all revealed. Not in the technique though, in what happens after it. Lee opens the gates. He pushes past every structural limit his body has. And then, when consciousness leaves, the body keeps going. Broken arm, broken leg, the person is offline, but the script is still running. Lee doesn't throw another punch. He doesn't finish a combo. He just stands there like he's ready, unconscious and broken. That's not willpower. That's the opposite of willpower. The conscious mind has checked out, but the system, the ninja way, the training, the 10,000 reps, is still running the hardware. It's not a triumph. It's a biological override. Full autopilot with no captain. The real world version doesn't look so dramatic. It's not an announcement. The output stays the same. The person keeps showing up. They keep hitting their numbers. They return the calls. But somewhere in the last few months, The liveliness went away. What used to feel like momentum now just feels like motion. There's no sense of building anything anymore, just maintaining the appearance of someone who is building. The habit is still running, replacing the person behind it. The body stops recovering the way it used to. 8 hours of sleep no longer fix the tiredness. Weekends no longer feel like a reset, and the exhaustion becomes the new baseline. An adjustment towards it is what the system was always designed to do. This is what burnout looks like in high-functioning people. Not a breakdown, not a moment where everything stops, just a slow purge, where the performance stays intact and the person behind it quietly disappears. This is where Lee lives right after the Gara fight. The surgery arc makes the cost explicit. He's facing a 50-50 chance of survival. Not to win a war, not to protect someone, but just to remain eligible to keep doing the thing that defines him. The risk isn't about love of combat. It's about the absence of any self that exists outside of it. And here's what the show gets right. The skills were real. The strength was real. Every callus and broken bone and every early morning rep produced something genuine. But all it took was one fight, where the body finally couldn't comply and the whole structure threatened to collapse, because the foundation was never the training. The foundation was the terror of who'd he be without it. And that's what the training montage doesn't say out loud. It shows the work, but it whispers what the work is holding together. Lee's story isn't a warning against discipline. It's a demonstration of what discipline becomes when it carries the weight of what it was never designed to hold. There's a version of this pattern that looks like the most admirable thing in the room. The person who never misses a day, who trains through the pain, who keeps the standard when everyone else has let theirs slip. From the outside, it reads as integrity, as commitment, but it can also be a wall between the person and the question they haven't stopped long enough to ask, between the output and whatever's underneath it. Tsunade's intervention doesn't dismantle Lee's drive, and that's the part that gets underread in my opinion. She gives him a path where the drive doesn't have to eat him alive to function. The goal shifts from surviving the fear of being ordinary to actually having something worth protecting. The capacity is the same, but the foundation changes. A person can have real skill, real strength, real results, and still be trapped inside the system that built them. The most disciplined person in the room isn't automatically the freest.